Hello to you, and welcome to the latest episode of Inside the Video Store. It is a chilly Wednesday in Wirral in mid-February, would you say? I'd say. And all is well. All is well. Alles good, as the Germans might say. Crazy week. Crazy week in the store. Crazy week. You wouldn't believe it. You would not believe this. But on Saturday, I had a look, and there were more films on loan than at any point in the store's 30-year history. More films out on loan to customers at any point than in the store's 30-year history. That was on Saturday. It was crazy. It got to Saturday afternoon and I'd run out of cases, the cases that I send out to people. And so I had to frantically grab my guillotine and start chopping away, just so people had a box, had a case to take their film home. And it was nuts. I don't know why either. It just, yeah, a strange one, really. It just came from nowhere. There was no major press articles. There was no major thing going on about the store. It was February. It was cold. There was nothing. Wasn't even a major release out. So yeah, just a weird thing whereby it was just an absolutely crazy. Friday was nuts. And I thought, well, Friday might replicate the Saturday. Saturday might be a bit quieter, but no, Saturday was just as busy as Friday. And it was an absolutely nutty week, which is great. Lots of new customers, lots of people I haven't seen for a long time renting films, which is always very cool. So yeah, absolutely thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. So will it be consistent? I don't know. This week has started quite conservatively. By the way, as I said, it's been a great 2 years. And it'd be interesting to see if this is the start of, I remember saying to you a few weeks back, I said, I have a funny feeling about 2025. I do sense this to be the year where people start to rebel against the streaming services, start to cancel streaming subscriptions that they may no longer use, start to really think more heavily about, I have Disney, and I don't think I've seen. I think I saw season 3 or 4 of Only Murders in the Building maybe 6 months ago, and I haven't touched Disney since. But obviously I've paid out $12.99 or whatever per month since then to watch absolutely nothing. People seem to be starting to think about that more seriously. So yeah, that's great. It didn't stop me having a really harsh go at a customer though, which I feel a little bit guilty for. The customer had never been in before, and they didn't come in for a film. They're in for buying one of the other many things I sell. And they just gave me a series of really backhanded compliments that it was at the end of a very long day, and I just snarled at them repeatedly, but perhaps it gives you an insight into the way I think of the store. I mean, the first thing they said was, you know what? It's really great to see old places like this still going, still hanging on. And so that got my back up initially. I know it was a compliment, but it was such a backhanded compliment that I instantly said, well, things are going well. It's a well-run business. It's booming. And he goes, oh, yeah. I'm just saying, it's so nice to come in here and see such an old... And it just seems to be the word old. He seemed to integrate the word old into every single sentence that he said. So that was that anyway. And so I went off to look for something, and then he came to the counter. And he apologized. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say anything offensive. I'm just saying that it's nice to see people going back to the old way of doing things. I said, not the old way of doing things. You've got to think of the fact that most of my customers, most of my regular customers right now are aged between 18 and 35. It was never the old way for them. It was never the old way. They're not going back to the old way. This is the new way to them. Their whole life has been streaming. So now the video store, that's the new way of doing things. It's not going back to the old way of doing things. So I was like, beetroot, steam coming out my ears. And he was like, I'm really sorry I came in here. Anyway, so again, he tried to pacifying me by drawing a line under it and saying, yeah, okay, sorry, I understand what you're saying. I said, and he started again, he said, but it's still nice to see people coming in for the old films. I said, but they're not coming in for the old films. They're coming in for the brand new formats, for Blu-ray, for 4K, for the brand new releases coming to Blu-ray this week and last week. Exciting films that you'd pay $5.50 for on streaming. If they're not coming in for old stuff necessarily, they're coming in for new stuff as well. It's not old. It's kind of a mix. So anyway, he went out and I will never see him again because obviously he despises the place. And he thinks, who is that grouchy man who owns that place and why are they so successful with him at the helm? But yeah, I thought that was a funny anecdote, which kind of, if you want to get my backup, just come in and tell me about the old way of doing things, or is it nice that you're still hanging on? Yeah. Right, we got a lot to get through. Holy moly. We have a stack of brand new releases. We have some very cool on loans. It was impossible to choose the on loans this week. I mean, where do we even begin? But I stuck to 8. So we've got a stack of new releases, some on loans. We have a what's in the box that's almost too exciting for television. Honestly, this is my box of the year so far. So I can't wait to show you that. And then I'm going to have a look at the comments because loads of you have been commenting this week. Because of course last week I asked the question, are you a film fan or are you a collector? Is it possible to be both? And all of you had an opinion. It was really nice to read what you have to say. I tried to refrain from commenting, so no offense, just so I could make it fresh when I read them out today. Anyway, let's have a look. We've been going for far too long already with nothing done. And here we are. Look, just look at this, for God's sake. It's almost offensive. It's almost offensive. Lead title for me is certainly Conclave. It did well at the BAFTAs this weekend. It was mooted to have a DVD release. It's not a Warner title. It's a Black Bear title. Never heard of that. But yeah, so far only on Blu-ray, which will disappoint a number of customers who are really looking forward to that on DVD. But still, excited to have this in because it looks like a really cool film. Also in, certainly it's the kids' holidays here in Wirral. It's half-term holidays, so Paddington. I had parents camping outside the door for Paddington on Tuesday, rabidly waiting for its arrival, and here it is. I also took the usual step of getting a Blu-ray for a kids' film, which I don't really do very often, to be honest. I tend to be of the perspective that most kids kind of go up to their bedrooms and watch a film on a battered old DVD player. So, but yeah, I thought we'd go with a blue because it is more of a family film, and I can imagine parents watching it downstairs with their kids in the main living room. This is a very exciting release, isn't it? Last stop at Yuma County. It looks gorgeously retro, and it just blends elements of Western and neo-noir. Yeah, an expertly crafted homage to the spirit of 1970s American crime thrillers. It is a brand new film. It's directed by Francis Galippi, and it's released by Arrow. Jim Cummings stars, as well as Richard Brake, Barbara Crampton. It looks absolutely fantastic. Really gorgeous artwork. That's a poster that you would love to have up in store, isn't it? And does it come with a poster? It does, I think. Oh no, postcards. That's okay. But yeah, great release. Really happy to get that. So that's awesome. Now this is a first, isn't it? This is a first. A film written by one of our viewers. Indeed. Mr. Tom Jolliffe is a regular viewer and commenter to Inside the Video Store. I've known Tom for a few years. He is a writer of some speed and frequency. I forget, Tom, you'll shout at me for this. You've probably written in excess of 20 movies. Many of them for folks like Proportion Pictures, who are a really cool little indie company in England, who tend to put a lot of their features on Tubi. And yeah, the types of films I really quite like, to be honest. Made for pennies, probably about 10 or 20 grand. But this, it looks like he's co-produced as well as written. This is The Baby in the Basket. It comes out courtesy of the old stalwart High Flyers Films, and it's out on DVD in the UK this week. I will look forward to giving that a go, as it's got some good pull quotes from some reputable people like DTV Connoisseur and also Bloody Disgusting, so that will be cool. So it's a nice stack of brand new releases. Onto the boutiques, we have a welcome remaster or restoration of The Lion in Winter. I had this on DVD, obviously, but good to get it in on Blu-ray. It was available also on 4K. Just a shame that Vintage Classics don't do the dual format, 4K and Blu-ray, but hey. A new entry in Masters of Cinema, spy number 303. We have The Legend of the Eight Samurai, Japanese box office sensation, directed by the revered Kinji Fukasaku. Battle Royale. This dates from 1983. Bit of a sci-fi setting to this. Looks really interesting. So yeah, an excellent addition to the Masters of Cinema collection at Snips. A nice quartet from Indicator. I think they had a quartet like this last month, didn't they? With Sahara, etc., etc. Now we have another quartet of classics. Don't they? I think they have a deal with Universal, don't they? That I think expires quite soon. Or am I making that up? Probably. Ignore me. We have Now and Forever, the Gary Cooper film from 1934. We have Harriet Craig, which has Joan Crawford in it from 1950. Peter Ibbotson, again, Gary Cooper from 1935. And again, Joan Crawford in Queen Bee from 1955. A awesome quartet, which will all go snugly in my Indicator Films section. This is the Arrow video release that was mysteriously sold out last week. I couldn't find it anywhere, but thankfully it's back in the Arrow store now. It's a double bill of A Certain Killer and A Killer's Key, two awesome Japanese crime films from the 60s, 67, yeah, so very cool indeed. Now, I know you don't need telling about. You may have noticed a few new stickers around the place, like Troma ink and who we got there. You might not be able to see, like Sergeant Kabuki Man. But my old friend Liam Regan, who you will know by my flaunting of his two movies, his two original features that came out in recent years, My Bloody Banjo and also Eating Miss Campbell, which have both performed really, really well here from a rental perspective. Now he's turning his eye to distribution. He is, quite frankly, the biggest Troma fan I have ever met in my entire life. He knows more about Troma than probably any other person alive, including Lloyd Kaufman. He's distributing Troma films in agreement with Lloyd Kaufman from his Yorkshire his Yorkshire base, and he's doing an amazing job. I mean, some of you may have bought Cannibal Musical from Vinegar Syndrome. Shame on you if you have. You should be buying it from Mr. Regan and his refusefilms.com website, because this is the definitive version of Cannibal the Musical, not the Vinegar Syndrome version, not the version that they were so well, to cut a long story short, Vinegar Syndrome prevented Liam from having his version of Cannibal the Musical stocked on various retailing websites, which, when you consider Vinegar Syndrome to be what they used to be, a little label who were kind of looking for any kind of leg up from everyone else, it just seems a shame that they're now flaunting their success and their weight against the little guy who are in the position that they once were. So that's really frustrating to hear, to be honest. No commentaries from me for Vinegar Syndrome. So yeah, Cannibal Musical is out now, and that's part of his, what's he calling it? Troma Selection, was it? Troma Archive Collection Series 1. That is the first. Well, it's not the first, it's actually the second. Toxic Avenger is number 1, which I don't have, because I thought to myself, well, I've got the 88 Films release of Toxic Avenger. And then I went on his website, refusefilms.com, checked out his edition of the Toxic Avenger Blu-ray, and the extra features on that are just they just make 88 films version pale into insignificance. So I will definitely pick up that. But this is the one I'm really excited about. It is, of course, Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD, first time on Blu-ray, and it's absolutely phenomenal. It's great to see this. I saw it at the weekend. I watched Lloyd's director's cut, and it looks phenomenal. It's a cliche to say, oh, it's the best it's ever looked, but this just looks ridiculous. And the extra features are just jaw-dropping. So yeah, great to see some Troma coming from the UK, no less. Nearly at the end of this week's brand new releases, we have, I mentioned it to you on the tour a couple of weeks back. I'm really beginning to focus on a couple of labels this year who are doing great things, like Radiance, for example, and also Third Window. Third Window, who have been putting out their directors' company movies for the best part of a year. They've had 5 releases so far, the best of which is undoubtedly Door. Well, they've released the next 3 in that collection this week, and they're all really exciting looking films. We have Bumpkin Soup from a guy that you will know well, Kiyoshi Kurosawa. It sounds absolutely fantastically weird. These are all 18 certificates, by the way, so it gives you some idea as to the content. We have Mermaid Legend from the director of Evil Dead Trap, and we have Scent of a Spell, which is a collaboration between the Mermaid Legend guy and the Love Hotel guy as well. So that's very, very exciting. Finally, one from Australia that I couldn't refuse this because it's just too exciting. I love a bit of blaxploitation. I've got a really cool blaxploitation section up there, but it's been a bit quiet on the blaxploitation front. Vinegar Syndrome obviously put out some Rudy Ray Moore films, nice, really classy blaxploitation films like The Candy Tangerine Man, which is just ridiculous. But Imprint, my new favorite label, have just issued their blaxploitation collection with 4 classic films on Blu-ray for the first time ever. We have The Legend of Black Charlie, The Soul of Black Charlie, Superfly, TNT, and also Detroit 9000. Just brilliantly exciting to see these. Obviously, some middle-aged white men were very disgruntled that the Legend of Black Charlie has had its title changed from its original release. But if that's all you're concerned about, then you need to get out more, really. But yeah, what a set. Absolutely fantastic. So a great week. Just a really great week. Something fell on the floor. That's okay. Yeah, a brilliant week. I can't wait to get those slotted in to the store and get them renting out, which is what we want, isn't it? Lovely. Okay, let's see what's been renting out. Which is a remarkable arrangement of films. I'm going to have some coffee. Bear with me. Yeah. I had a customer in a few weeks ago, a bit longer, just bursting with excitement about renting Repo, the Genetic Opera. Doesn't happen very often. They rented it. And lo and behold, it was one of these Sony discs. You get them from time to Lionsgate disc. You get them from time to time that just hasn't aged well, and it's now in a state of complete disrepair. So they came in just absolutely distraught at the fact that they couldn't see Repo, the Genetic Opera. But I said, no, I shall upgrade my DVD to a Blu-ray, and you shall go to the ball. So they have it on loan at the moment. I do love this film to bits. I love a musical. And yeah, Repo, the Genetic Opera is out on loan for the first time in ages, as is Freddy Got Fingered. Never seen this film in my life, but it has a very loyal army of fans, and rightly so. Just been to Manchester this day, and as always, on my regular trips to Manchester, I always listen to Video Archives podcast to catch up. And today I listened to their episode on 2 Minute Warning. And I can't wait to watch this. Jake's got it out on loan at the moment for the same reason. And Quentin and Roger just made it sound phenomenal. And I'm now desperate to see 2 Minute Warning because they made it sound amazing. So yeah, really excited to watch that. And while I was listening to this, they happened to talk about Larry Pierce, the director. So I'm going to try and track down a couple of his films because he sounds like an interesting guy. When we did do the move around a few weeks ago, the tour, I was saying to you about films renting out from that new section, that new boutique section that would never have rented out before. Now, Siege is one of those such films. Siege was round about here somewhere, and no one was going to browse there. No one was going to rent it. But instead, now it has rented out. It's a primo slice of Canadian exploitation. It's a great, great film. I do hope the customer that rented it likes it. And like I say, it's just awesome to see films like this finally getting exposure and renting out, which is brilliant. I picked this up the other week, didn't I? Surviving the Game, which is a great survivalist thriller directed by Ernest Dickerson, sorry, with Ice-T and Rutger Hauer. It's so good, and I hope more people rent this because it's a really great piece of 90s action cinema. I've got a new customer at the moment who's he's one of these guys that I get them in from time to time. He's a nice guy, and he's slightly cynical about the store. You know, he's like, right, so what do I need to join? So you don't join. You don't join. There's no membership. It's you just pick a film and go on. Oh, and you know what that reaction was like? This is where's the hidden cameras? So he's like, right, okay, well, how long do I get them for? So I said, well, it's up to you. You take them for as long as you want, within reason. But bear in mind, there's probably people, no matter how obscure the film you rent is, that are waiting for it. So, say a week, but either side, you're all right. And he's like, right, okay, that's all right. Well, so if it's late, what do I pay? I'm like, well, there's no late fees. You don't pay any late fees. It's just, that's the way it is. He's like, oh, just every question was met with the answer that he didn't expect. And it's always quite cool in that situation to see people's reaction because they can't believe the simplicity that you just literally walk in, pick a film, and go home. That's it. There's no gimmicks. There's no hassle. There's none of the stuff that was around 30 years ago that was very much the death knell to video stores. The hassle. Anytime you read a retrospective about video stores, you check the comment section, and the majority of negative comments will always be about paying fines, having to return things on time. So surely in 2025, the best way to eradicate that negativity is to remove those things. It's easy enough, isn't it? I can do what I want. So no fines, no late fees, no rental period, no fixed rental period. Anyway, so it's nice when people come in and they're so disbelieving. Anyway, he's got a kind of list in his mind of stuff that he watched when he was, late 80s, 90s. And he's going through it, and every film he mentions, I've got a pretty good hit rate on. And he's trying to think of a film, hard something. Hard. And he's like, it's like a sci-fi, I'm like, Hardware? Richard Stanley film? It's like, yeah. And he couldn't believe that I had a copy of it. And I must admit, with the Richard Stanley controversy, it hasn't stretched its legs too often recently, but it's good to see this coming out because it is a very, very good film. So I'm pleased to see that renting. One that I thrust into the hands of Mark over the weekend was Cruel Britannia from Vinegar Syndrome, which I happened to see. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. 2 out of 3 over the weekend. I saw Penny Gold and Crucible of Terror, both of which are really interesting. Kind of thrillers more than horrors, although Crucible of Terror does kind of lean into the horror genre a bit more. But they're all great. Chris Blataro was the best of the two that I saw. Penny Gold was essentially a film by Jack Cardiff regarding a stamp collecting kind of duplicitous scenario. So, you know, you could take or leave that, but it was good. Set in Windsor, of all places. But Chris Blatero took us back to the Cornish coast, which was really, really cool. And the lead guy in this, I forget the lead guy's name, but a really wild actor, had a few lead roles, and then just completely disappeared. No, he wanted to be a sheep farmer, and was alleged to have been a devil worshipper in real life, which is all right. Mike Raven, he was the played Count Karnstein in Lustre of Empire. Mike Raven was on Radio 1 the day it launched. Wild career. Check him out on Wikipedia. Just one of those bizarre careers that you think, what? How did that happen? Finally, good to see. Again, another range that I've moved to a more high-profile place, and it's renting out. It's so cool to see BFI Flipside releases renting out. I love this range more than life itself, and it's criminally ignored here through my own fault. I don't push it as much as I should do, but it is great. And this is a particularly great film with John Hurt, who leads the party of dynamic erection, which we probably need more of today, to be honest. So yeah, they are a selection of some of the films that I've rented out. And without further ado, let's have a sip of coffee, which is cold. So in that case, let's go on to what's in the box. As I say, this is a great what's in the box. I'm getting into a pattern with my US. I've got this US postal box, which is really handy because it means I can import stuff for a relatively low cost and from places that no longer import into the UK due to the bizarre situation regarding everything these days. So yeah, I've been hoarding stuff there. Finally, it's come over, and it's just chock full of stuff that I can't wait to get a look at. First up, a couple from MVD for you. We have Ghost Riders. And to be honest, I only got this because Matthew Budravich is writing a really cool piece on Ghost Riders. And this Blu-ray is absolutely stacked from MVD. We have an audio commentary, we have a making of documentary, and more. It's a really well curated disc. The film itself goes back to 1987. But either way, it's region free, and I'm really really pleased to have it here. Next up from MVD, one of my favorite directors is, of course, David A. Pryor, master of the low-budget action movie, and Killzone. Is it one of his best? It could well be, so I'm kind of thrilled to have that here. Sabotage came out in this country from 101 in a fairly shoddy edition, as you would expect from that company. So I had no reservation by getting this from MVD. It's a great Tibor Takac film. Tibor Takac is a great director, although you will have seen Hardcover, maybe. If you haven't seen Hardcover, rent it from here. It's great. You may have seen Mansquito. No? You may have seen Ice Spiders. No? Anyway, great director, but he's one of these people that kind of looks back on his career and doesn't really want to revisit anything. So if you ever ask him for an interview, he tends to turn it down, which is fair enough. From Synapse, I picked up McBain. We were talking about James Glickenhaus the other week, weren't we? With The Exterminator going out. So I thought, well, I've got McBain, one of the early Arrow DVD releases, but we need to upgrade this. So here we are, the upgraded Blu-ray of McBain. One of my favorite labels, Film Masters. This is the latest Monster from the Ocean Floor, which is the first Roger Corman movie that he produced officially. He did have an associate producer credit on Highway Girl, Highway Robbery, Highway something, but it was wasn't. It was only a script of his that was then produced. This is kind of the whole shebang. So yeah, Monster from the Ocean Floor, 1954, It's good fun, and as usual with Film Masters, we've got great supplementary features, commentary with Tom Weaver, who inserts lots of different interviews with cast and crew members that he's spoken to over the years, which is really fascinating. Quiet on the announcements from Film Masters at the moment. So hopefully they had to have stuff lined up, but I think that's the last title they've got announced at the moment. Slightly concerning. Also concerning was the fact that Wicked Stepmother was listed as a Region 1 film. But like my copy of the Private Files of J. Edgar Hoover that showed up from MGM limited edition collection the other week, it is region free. So thankfully people can sample this, not Larry Cohen's best film by far, but still an interesting piece of work with Colleen Camp and Bette Davis. Now this is interesting. Like I said, you know more better than anybody that I'm a big Warner Archive fan. Mega label, and lately they're starting to really invest in television and putting some television box sets out of shows that have just been lost to time. And I'm reluctant to get these because I don't think they've got the appeal in this country. But from a personal point of view, they appeal to me. So I kind of thought, screw it, let's get them. The first one I'd like to show you is The Alaskans with Roger Moore. Great show, allegedly. I'm going to take it home tonight and watch a couple of episodes. This, just for context, this is the complete series, which I believe is about 39 episodes. Yeah, 33 hours of television. That's about 39 episodes. This cost me £45. It's an 8 Blu-ray set, 9 Blu-ray set. And this was £45. Rumpelstiltskin on UHD was £45. So in context, a 33-hour epic Roger Moore TV show that has never really seen the light of day, and now it's been remastered for Blu-ray. And then you have Rumpelstiltskin, a 90-minute feature, same price. It's a weird industry, isn't it? But anyway, I couldn't resist that. So there it is, The Alaskans with Roger Moore. Similarly for this, a man called Shenandoah. Sounds really fascinating. This was considerably cheaper. It's Robert Horton. He has lost his identity. He's no idea who he is. He's turned up in a town and he needs to recover his memory to find out who he is and where he came from. Sounds great. I mean, guest stars from the series include DeForest Kelley, Ed Asner, Bruce Dern, Cloris Leachman, Warren Oates, George Kennedy, Leonard Nimoy, Martin Landau, and now it's been remastered in 1080p HD for Blu-ray. This is a series, well, not a series, it's a series of films that I've been keen to get hold of for a number of years now, but it's always been, you know, when you're on a budget, some things inevitably get stuck to the bottom of the wish list. This is one, but finally, with me getting volume 1 of this series, hopefully successive volumes will follow suit. It's Forbidden Hollywood, which to me, I think there's about 12 volumes in this series now, each consisting of 3 films, and they all sound fantastic. The reason behind the series is that, you know, as you'll know, in the early 1930s, it was pre-code Hollywood. You know, the production code hadn't yet come in, and many films allowed for extraordinary frankness, including nudity, adultery, and prostitution. And that pretty much echoes the 3 films that are in this set. And they all sound absolutely wonderful, including Babyface with Barbara Stanwyck as an amoral beauty who sleeps her way to the top. 1933, wouldn't believe it, would you? We have 3 horror films here from Warner Archive that came out in October. They finally dropped in price now, so that was enough of a signal for me to get them. We have The Beast with 5 Fingers, which is Peter Lorre, set in small town Italy, Beast with 5 Fingers. We have The Walking Dead with Boris Karloff, directed by Michael Curtis. Got some great special features on this with 2 commentaries and a documentary on Michael Curtis. But yeah, it's about a man who comes back from the dead to seek revenge on the gangsters who framed him for the murder of a judge. And finally, we have the return of Dr. X, which is Humphrey Bogart's only horror film role where he stars as a vampire. So yeah, that should be really, really fascinating. So yeah, 3 cool horror films from Warner Archive. Finally, 2 last ones. This was silly money, so I had to pick it up. It's fairly new. Idiot's Delight with Norma Shearer and Clark Gable. And also we have, while we're on the subject of blaxploitation, we have Black Belt Jones, which has just come out from Warner Archive, directed by Robert Clowes about 2 years before he shot Enter the Dragon. And just, again, another great addition to my blaxploitation range. That's a great, I mean, what a week. Seriously, what a week. If you're a customer here, where do you even begin? Where do you even begin? Oh, 3 more quick ones to show you. Conscious of time. A few on the Arrow sale that I couldn't resist. One was Black Hat, which the computer says I have it on DVD somewhere, but for the life of me, I can't find it. Maybe I should offer a prize to the first customer who finds my copy of Black Hat on DVD. It's not in the B's, it's not in the new B's, not in the old B's, it's not in the Brian De Palma section. Can't find it. Anyway, who cares? We have the Blu-ray here, which has the director's cut as well. Very cool. The Last Video Store. No, it's not a biopic about Snips. It is a indie film, one of the great Arrow pickups of late that hopefully should be as good as stuff like Dave Made a Maze and Dinner in America. So yeah, really looking forward to that. And finally, a customer request that I didn't have. It is Weird Al Yankovic in UHF. Okay, 5 minutes for a few comments, which I will quickly go through now. Because you have been commenting in your droves. I'll try not to be too repetitive on this. I'm conscious of the fact that many people made similar points. Let's have a look. Sparky776 says, I really enjoy watching your videos. I only have DVDs and no intention of upgrading. See, everyone is different. Everyone is different. That's the theme. That there was no person commenting. Maybe there's no person who watches the show who said, no, I am only buying 4K UHDs from here on in. No one said that. No one said that. In fact, everybody said, I don't care. I just want to watch the film. I'll buy the best format if it's there, but if it's only on DVD, I'll buy the DVD. And that tends to be the general consensus. This is Thursday Gaming said that he recently purchased a former DVD called The Holdovers. He really, really, really loved it. I must admit that The Holdovers has been one of the biggest renters here in the last 12 months. And everybody, it really touches most people that watch it. They really do love it. Lee Marn says that he considers himself both a film fan and a film collector. Well, so would I, Lee, to be honest. But like I said last week, can we blend those two? Or are they now 2 separate factions? I think we can blend them. He says, I generally get as much pleasure in finding 3 DVDs for £1 in a local charity shop as I do in ordering the latest Blu-ray box set from Severin. As long as I can own a particular film, then the format doesn't really matter. Yes, that is the key sentence of today. As long as I can own a particular film, the format doesn't matter. Indie Phantom Sofa Cinema says, good day to you. Good day to you. Thanks for the weekly vid. I look forward to the most. I saw on another channel that Blu-ray has been trending as the lowest selling of the current formats behind DVD and UHD. It seems like it's getting lost in the middle. Marginally, but I think now with many, many labels, as you've seen this week, Conclave, last week with the Almodovar, a few weeks before that with Juror number 2, if studios stop making DVDs and just put their films out on Blu-ray, DVD will die, which it's fine as long as people still buy the secondhand stuff. Jonah Fish, another great episode. As an American, Oh, sorry, just go back to Indie Phantom Sofa Cinema. I was wondering if your rental trends reflected those preferences. No, Blu-ray has never been stronger here. It has never been stronger. Many people just haven't caught up with UHD, and many have no intention of doing so, really. They think the Blu-ray is absolutely fine for them. And, that's fine. To be honest, if I was a renter, I would probably agree. Yeah, Jonah Fish, another great episode. As an American, I absolutely love the James Bond franchise. Live Let Die being my personal favourite. I don't think I've ever seen that film. He says, I have no issues with DVD. Well, I prefer to see a film in the highest possible quality. If I find a DVD at a thrift shop for $1 and the 4K is going for $20, or in some cases $50, I'll go for the DVD. Yeah, why not? Ryan McGivern says, I collect DVDs if the film or TV show isn't released on Blu-ray or 4K. There's still a number of fine films that have yet to get an HD release in the UK. And you're absolutely right. I still have some VHS tapes of some versions of films. Yeah. Corey says, I don't mind getting a DVD. I don't mind getting a DVD to see a film if that's what's out there, or if it's the best it will look like with the source materials available. Doom Marathon says, hell yes, Seed People. Yes, Seed People is our new commentary that's coming from 88 Films in May. Rise the Phoenix says, my favourite film last week was Dinner in America, pulled from one of your weekly picks a few weeks ago. Great flicks. Any recommendations in a similar alley? I'm terrible when I'm put on the spot, but you'll pick up stuff that I recommend every week, so just keep watching. That's the trick. That's the trick. Rick and Rebuild Him blog said, weirdly, since you mentioned both Golgo 13, it's probably the Japanese equivalent to Bond. And yeah, Bond is basically constantly on ITV. Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Franco Esque says, having developed my movie love in the classified ads in the dark side for 16th generation VHS copies of Italian Giallos, when the internet started moving to VCD Hong Kong Cat 3 films and the Japanese Pinku releases on VHS and VCD, I know I can watch any image quality, but I can't stand bad sound. Yeah. I know the economics just won't work for Blu-ray, never mind 4K. For Sato Hisayashi movies, but I keep hoping. You never know. You never know. The weird stuff that's coming out, you never know what is in the pipeline. Still can't comprehend how many releases of Jess Franco's films or Jean Rollins films that I pick up. It is a lot, isn't it? And we are lucky. I never expected Copperhead to not only get released on Blu-ray, but a vinyl release too. Yeah, I think overall your point is that we're moaners. We do love to moan that the film we want isn't coming out, or the film we want is out on Blu-ray, not UHD, or something minor. When sometimes it's best just to stand back, think back to 20 or 30 years ago. Think back to how bad it was and how much you couldn't get. Think back to 40 years ago when you couldn't get anything, virtually, or in the infancy of VHS. Think back to 60 years ago where once a film played at the cinema, that was pretty much it unless it showed on TV. Now we're spoiled, but we're acting spoiled. Ancient Slumber says, I personally like a Blu-ray, but sometimes I just can't get one. So I'll get what's available or what I can afford. Yeah, you're pretty much right. You're pretty much right. Freeling Phil, definitely in the film fan camp. DVD is perfectly fine 90% of the time, especially if it's not available on Blu-ray. If a film is in public domain like His Girl Friday, there's a load of dodgy DVD releases, then of course a lovely Criterion Blu-ray becomes essential. Yeah, DVD in general, she's good enough for me. I'd agree, Phil. I would agree. Film Wolf. With your British laws on porn, What do you do with the films that have porn inserts? Thriller, A Cruel Picture, Malabimba, The Malicious Whore, Caligula, etc. etc. Do you just rent them with a warning that they might get a little spicy? You mean to say that Thriller, Malabimba, and Caligula have porn inserts? I never knew. I never knew. And I've just forgotten that I read that sentence, so I'm going to plead complete ignorance in the issue. So I'll just hope that no one watches it with their mum and dad. But who would do that? Would anyone go home and watch Thriller with their mum and dad? I hope not. Although I have heard similar stories to that, funnily. That's for another time. That is for another time, because we've been going on for 45 minutes. And I want me tea. So good. Thank you again for choosing to watch this show. Last week's show was ridiculously popular. And I think it was our fastest. It got the highest number of watches in the shortest amount of time ever, which is nuts, especially after what 47, 48 shows. Crazy. So yeah, thank you very much for that. It's greatly appreciated, and it makes coming in on my day off after a gnarly day in Manchester worthwhile. So yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Keep watching, keep subscribing. We're about 20 subscribers away from 1,000. And then I can monetize everything. Obviously, I won't monetize anything because that would mean adverts, and we don't want adverts. And sometimes it's nice to sit back and say, do we want adverts in this show? Like every 4 seconds, Pantene Pro V and, Viagra for, over 25s. And I think, no, not really. Why would you want to interrupt me? Right. Anyway, let's be off. Thank you for watching. Please comment away. I love reading your comments this week. It's really interesting hearing your opinions about DVD and Blu-ray and collectors and film fans. It was really, really interesting. So thank you for that. And I appreciate the time that it took you to construct such detailed responses. And I apologize if I haven't read anybody's in complete and utter verbatim. Anyway, I'm off to somehow select. Oh no, I'm watching Roger Moore, aren't I? Let's go and watch Roger Moore and somehow try and work out which of these releases I'm going to watch over the next few days. It's going to be wild. Thank you for watching. I will see you in 7 days' time.